Hey, what's up, y'all? Kills at Wills here. We're back in the corner, Kills Corner that is, for another mini review. Uh, we're gonna talk about kids, y'all. Spoilers. We're gonna talk about kids. If you don't want to know what happens, or if you don't want to be reminded of what happens, scroll up, left, right, down, however you want to get rid of me, because I can't do this review without spoiling it. So we're just gonna start from the beginning. I'm gonna just get through as quick as I can. I'm gonna try to spare y'all a lot of the more crude and gross details of certain things, because some of it you just have to experience it for yourself. What happens in this film? We start by being introduced to Telly. It becomes very clear early on that Telly, everybody has a thing, right? Telly's thing apparently is having sex, not only having sex with virgins, not only having sex with virgins, having sex with young virgins. It's a creepy thing. Like I said, I'm going to spare you a lot of stuff. We're just going to roll past. We are then introduced to his best friend Casper. Telly and Casper are set out to try to find something to do for the day. They end up at their friend Paul's house because he might have food and they don't have any money. So here they go to Paul's house. Paul lives with about 8 or 9 other people in this random apartment where they sit around and do whippets and watch skate videos, apparently. Whilst they're doing that, we get this scene where they're sitting around talking about women, how much they love giving fellatio, who they've had sex with, where they've had sex, how many times they've had sex, this, that, and the third. Whilst this conversation is happening, we understand there's a phone call where Telly is told, "Hey, Jenny says hi." Jenny is in another little place with her friend Ruby and a couple of her other friends, and they're all sitting around talking about how women don't like to give fellatio, who they've had sex with, where they've had sex, how many times, this, that, and the third. We learn that Jenny slept with Telly at one point, you know, and it becomes very clear Telly is one of these, oh, I will say anything, women like to hear this, that, and the third that helps you get in. And then after he succeeds, he ghosts them. We find out that he's done that to poor Jenny, and you could tell that Jenny was hurt by it. She kind of liked Telly. Her friend Ruby has been around the block a little bit. Um, and we come to find out that those two have gone to the free clinic. They've gotten some blood work done. They're going to see if everything's okay. Ruby, who's 17 years old, says she's had sex with about 8 or 9 people, been a little more sexually active. Turns out she's in the clear. Poor Jenny, who only had sex with Telly, come to find out she's contracted HIV. Which, when you find out now already in your head, you're going, oh no, Telly has given HIV to the young lady in the beginning of the movie. So already if you already didn't like Telly, now it's just a whole thing. Now it's just all bad. So she's gonna spin. She's trying to call her mom, hangs up for the mom. She needs to go find Telly. Telly, meanwhile, turns out he's found out what he wants to do today. Says, Casper, I think I want to go track down my friend's sister, Darcy. I'm going to take her virginity. Why? Because I want to take 2 versions in one day. Because, like we said, that's his thing. Unpacking. We're rolling through it. Rolling through it. So, in the midst of trying to find Telly, Jenny ends up at a club that she thinks that Telly is going to be there. Turns out he's not there, but she does meet one of her friends, Widget, who shoves a drug into her mouth that she clearly doesn't want, but she's just going through it. And so it's there. So now, on top of everything else, now she's going through this downer. She's been drugged. Some young lady comes up to her at the club, tells her, "Oh no, Telly went to Steve's house." Apparently, Steve, one of the friends that you meet later, actually played by John Abrahams in his first movie. I was like, oh yeah, he was in this. Apparently, there's a big blowout at Steve's house. Telly has taken Darcy, who's the young lady, back to Steve's house, and he has, unfortunately, to the chagrin of everyone watching the movie, he succeeds. So now he's giving this young lady HIV. Jenny comes to the party, opens up the door, sees Telly in mid-act. There's nothing she can do about it. She finds a couch, sits down, begins to weep. She's been through it. She's had the worst day of her life just based on this one horrible decision. If all that wasn't bad enough for the young lady, the movie ends, and it's still uncomfortable to watch, as it should be, because it's wrong, it's terrible. Casper gets out of the bathtub, sees Jenny lying there, and proceeds to rape her because he's feeling a certain way about Telly succeeding and Casper feel like he gotta get laid, right? So he rapes a young lady, and the movie ends with Casper sitting in a couch, naked, looking right into the camera, going, "What the fuck happened?" That's kind of how you feel after you watch this. So, what do I think about this movie? I think the same thing that I thought when I first saw this movie, where I know I kind of knew kids like that. When I first watched the film, I wasn't drinking, I wasn't smoking, I hadn't had sex yet, but I knew enough where it's like, yo, these are the kids that my parents and my people don't want me hanging around. I wouldn't want to hang around these kids. And I feel like this movie is kind of like what Euphoria is probably to some high schoolers today. Like if you're in high school watching Euphoria, you might be going through that. You might know other people that are going through what they're going through in that show. Just like with this movie, like you probably know kids or new kids that were going, just what are y'all doing this week? What y'all doing? We just came down to the park. We're gonna buy weed at the park and we'll hang there. And then Steve having a party tonight, so we're gonna go out there and there are gonna be whippets there and stuff like that. And we just, gonna sit around and do the drugs and all that. So this movie is a cautionary tale about what happens when when you make the choices you make and the circles that you keep. Hang in the right circles, make the right choices. These kids didn't seem like to have a lot of role models in their lives to tell them, get a job. What are you doing? We're introduced to Telly's mom at one point, and she's just like, what are you doing all day? Oh, we're all looking for jobs. And she's like, do you have any luck? And you're like, nah. And she, there's no push there. Like, when you coming home? I'll be later. What, 4:30 in the morning? Like, so she knows, but those kids in the movie just didn't have anyone. There's no role models. And so it's hard to watch because it's hard to watch kids go through that. So I personally enjoy the movie because it's still to today. It holds up today. I see adults that kind of act like kids and want to, go do certain things. It's just like, to stay away from there because it doesn't lead to anything good. So I enjoy the movie, especially still for Rosario Dawson's performance. I knew then, even when I watched it then, I was like, that young lady is going to be a star. She lights up the screen. Her dialogue, her timing, everything just works. And Chloe Sevigny, you really feel for Jenny. Like who wouldn't, right? But she's just really good at just she does a great job in this movie. So I wouldn't necessarily recommend it. It's not for everyone, but I would say if you've seen or heard of Euphoria and you're like, okay, and you watch that at all, kids to me is like the first iteration to me of like what Euphoria is now, kids was then. It's just, again, it's done a little more glossy, it's a little more stylized. It has actors in it that some actors that have already done some things already. Where there were a lot of all four of those kids, in a sense, this was their first movie. So that's the review. Thanks for sticking around. Next time we're gonna do something a little more uplifting and happy because I know that was a little heavy. But thanks for hanging in. I appreciate everybody's support. Don't forget to check out the matinee review as well with me and my guy Justin. And we'll see you on the next one. Peace out from Kills Corner. Thanks, y'all.